I'm Diego Sanchez, COO of HW Media, and this is 10-Minute Talks, where I give a quick, informative conversation with leaders at organizations that are growing during this difficult housing market. My guest today is Katie Sweeney, CEO of the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. Katie, welcome to 10-Minute Talks.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you. So before we dive in, could you give a 60-second intro of yourself and of AIME?
Absolutely. So I have been the CEO of AIME for almost 3 years now. We're coming up on our 3-year anniversary in July. Our organization represents about 65,000 mortgage brokers across the country. So they're all independent, local experts living in their communities. Our membership is based on people, not companies. So all of those folks have actually decided to join along with us and are excited about the work that we're doing in DC to advocate on behalf of not only mortgage brokers, but also consumers. My history in the mortgage industry is not super long. About 7 years in since I've been in this space. I've worked as a lender on the consumer direct side, on the technology development side. I've also worked for a large web-based LOS platform and helping bring it to market. And I've been focused on strategy and development objectives for AIME for the last few years.
And what attracted you to the organization?
Spunk. I will say until the day that I die, mortgage brokers are some of the most interesting, savvy, spunky, sassy. They're people that just are willing to roll up their sleeves and get things done for the betterment of those that they're intending to serve. And I love that. And I think the housing industry is one that has been really stagnant for a really long time. It hasn't evolved from a consumer-centric perspective the same way that a lot of other consumer-focused industries have, particularly in the last 10 years or so. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity to work with the next generation of people that are going to be leading this industry for the next 20, 30, 40 years and figuring out how we make it as pro-consumer as possible, but also working directly with the folks that want to just get stuff done. I think that's the spice that keeps things really interesting. There's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different goals, but at the end of the day, everybody's working towards the common theme of doing what's good for everybody in the industry.
65,000 members is incredible growth for your organization over the past couple of years. Yep. How are you differentiating yourself from some of the other membership trade organizations that represent mortgage professionals?
Yeah, I think we've done it in a few ways. First, when the movement started that codified AIME, it wasn't really intended to be a trade organization. It really was a social endeavor that said, we've got all these people, we have all these same challenges, let's get together and talk about it. And I think that grassroots movement really helped build the initial foundation. It got a lot of attention. It garnered opportunities and conversations really early on that might not have happened had we set forth and said, we're going to be a trade group, right? We're a trade group that grew out of people who needed representation, not the other way around. We didn't come up with a concept and then go find people to support it. We built the organization based off of what people told us they needed. I think also because we are focused on individual loan officers and broker owners and not on companies, it gets our engagement levels really, really high. So all of those people have opted in. A lot of trade groups represent a large number of people, but really they have one contact at the company and then that company has 1,000 employees. Well, really, do you have 1,000 members or do you have one? Because you have one person who signed on to be a part of the trade group. The 1,000 people that work there are just employees of that company. And we don't do that. Everybody for us, we could have the same organization have 5 members and 5 people who aren't members. So we really are focused on hearing what individual people are looking for. And I think the third part is that we're not just advocating for people who work in the housing industry, we're advocating for people who benefit from the housing industry. And that is a clear focus on what is best for a consumer, what is best to create more diversity and equity opportunities in the housing space. How do we get housing to look like people who are buying homes? And that hasn't happened. It's been a really slow transition. Even if you look at the averages that exist in our industry today, AIME tends to trend much younger. We're a much more diverse group than the industry overall. And I think that's been because there's a lot of intentional focus in how do we make the industry better? And by constantly seeking the betterment of the industry, we're able to attract a much broader audience of people that all have something they want to improve and they want to do it together as a part of our community.
I really love that. And it seems like as your organization has been growing its membership count, the broker channel has also been experiencing growth and gaining market share versus other channels.
Yep.
Why do you think that's happening, particularly during this very difficult housing market?
I think a lot of it's education, right? There's a lot of misconceptions on what you can do as a mortgage broker versus what you can't. And so the louder our voice has gotten, the more information that's gotten in front of people. I think people are seeing opportunities that they didn't realize existed. I think a lot of it comes with lenders developing their relationships with mortgage brokers over the last 5, 6, 7 years as well, and vendors also. There was this big conception, and probably truth for a while, that technology in the wholesale space was lacking compared to retail channels, that you had more access at banks than you do with wholesale. As our lenders have gotten bigger and they've been willing to listen to feedback directly from our brokers to say, I need to be able to talk to the underwriter. I need you guys to build the system out. I need a better integration here. If I had this, I could run my business more efficiently. It's created this rising tide sort of motion with the channel that when one leads, everybody else needs to make sure they keep up. And it's made the entire channel stronger. And it's created a lot more opportunity for any business model that you want. I think the other part is that the broker channel is really agile. They run really lean for the most part. There's not a lot of bloated overhead because they're more focused on being hyper local small businesses for the most part. We certainly have members that run very large broker organizations, but a lot of mortgage brokerages are less than 15 people. They focus in 1, maybe 2 states. They live there with the people that they serve. And there's a level of inherent trust working with somebody who lives in your community that you know versus working with a large institution that's headquartered in another state, particularly in a time of unsettlement or a time where people don't fully understand why rates are where they are or what's happening in the market or where are banks going out of business, is the economy shutting down again. If you're talking to a mortgage broker that coaches your kid's soccer team, it's a much easier conversation than trying to get on the phone with a call center that you don't have a relationship with and you don't have any reason to trust what you're being told.
Not all the news has been good for the broker channel over the past 6 months. We've seen wholesale lenders really scaling back, some bigger lenders shutting the wholesale channel, wholesale lenders going out of business. Do you think this will impact growth of the broker channel in this year and in coming years?
I don't think so. I think really what we're seeing is the industry as a whole is pivoting. There are lenders of every channel that are shutting down. There are people who are making decisions. If there's a lack of resources underneath one roof, sometimes you have to choose which channel you're going to put your horse into and where you want to focus your time and energy. We're seeing the same on the other side. We've got wholesale lenders that are closing down retail divisions. I think it's happening in both spaces. I think that's just where we're at in the industry with the market as it stands right now. But I also think, and one of the things that is encouraging as far as channel growth is concerned, I have other concerns based on diversification in the channel, but a lot of these groups that are shutting down, they're not so big that their volume can't be absorbed into the other market leaders in the channel. So a lot of consolidation is happening. We're seeing organizations try to align or sell assets off that still keep things operating in the broker world, but just not underneath the old brand. That's good to make sure that we've got options right now. We always want more options in the channel. So I certainly don't want to suggest that we want to see 75 or 80 wholesale lenders go down to 20, because that would not be good for anybody. But I think what we're seeing is more a result of the industry and less about brokers overall. And you've continued to see it as well, right? We went from right around 20 or 22% of the market at the beginning of last year. Most numbers suggest that by close of business in December, that we were actually closer to 25% of the market, and that number is just going to continue to rise. And I think it's because we're seeing volume eliminate from the banks and retail lenders at a much faster pace than we're seeing it eliminate from the broker model.
That makes sense. So what is the strategy for AIME in working with your membership to continue that growth in 2023 and beyond? What are you working on right now?
We've got a lot that we're working on in the advocacy space. And again, as a bit of a different approach than I think we see from some other folks, I'm not a loan officer. I never have been. And I think that's one of the greatest assets that I bring to AIME. I run the organization like a business. I'm not distracted by running another business at the same time. And I think there are a lot of trade organizations out there that while very well intentioned, if people have split focuses, it becomes really difficult to execute on a strategy and to build an organization up and to continue to scale efficiently. So I'm running the business side. We've got member leaders in place that are full-time broker owners or loan officers out there that bring their perspectives to the table and make sure the business unit is moving things forward in the direction that we all agree is best for the channel. But it's allowed us to really make sure that everybody's strengths are being utilized in the most efficient way possible. So we've got a state captain program that is launching in early April, very, very soon, that will allow us to now have at least 2 of our members that are essentially local delegates in every state across the country. They'll be the ones that we're working with on grassroots legislation at the state level. We have our federal legislation team in place with Brenda McKay and I that spend about a week a month in DC. A lot of our push now is about rounding out what AIME offers. The initial focus of the organization was marketing and events, and then we grew into education and expanding our partnerships and looking at channel diversification. And now the advocacy and the outreach component was really the last piece that was missing. We launched our initiatives in DC in January, February of 2022, so about a year ago. And we've seen a lot of great progress in a very short window of time. So we're going to continue to focus there. I think that's going to help bring even more people to the table that may not necessarily need some of the other benefits that we've traditionally offered, but are interested in being a part of legislative conversations and making sure that as the industry evolves, as the market changes, that we've got a seat that people are willing to listen to what brokers need, how we impact the economy, what we can do to be helpful and beneficial in different areas that's been incredibly underrepresented for the last 15 years.
Sounds like an incredible plan to continue that growth. Katie, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.